The sun bleeds across the eastern plains, turning the great river into a vein of molten copper. For the clan, this is the center of the world, the only world that matters. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth, blooming acacia, and the distant, reassuring musk of the herd of giant buffalo grazing by the reeds. This is the rhythm of their prehistoric life, the cool morning hunt, the midday languor in the shade of the fig trees, the evening fire where food is shared and bellies are full. Their existence is a testament to the hard miners' one knowledge passed down through generations of ancient humans, a deep understanding of this valley and its temperaments. She sits apart, on a smooth, sun-warmed boulder overlooking the water. Her name is a sound, a clicking guttural that means long minus memory. Her skin is a roadmap of seasons. Her hands gnarled around a walking stick polished by a lifetime of use. While the young ones chase lizards in the dust and the hunters sharpen their stone points, she watches the river, not with the contentment of the others, but with the focused dread of a creature sensing a trap. It is the fish. They swim too close to the surface, their movements frantic, desperate for air and water that should be clear and cool. The wind, too, is wrong. It carries a damp, heavy smell from the high mountains. A scent that is not of rain, but of water that has been sleeping for a very long time. A young hunter, Rook, approaches her. He is strong, his shoulders wide, his spear a permanent extension of his arm. He offers her the liver from a morning kill, the choicest part, still warm. This is the law of the clan: the old and the young eat first. It is the core of their survival, a simple altruism that underpins their entire society. She accepts it with a nod, but her eyes never leave the river. She points with a trembling finger, not at the water itself, but at a line of dead reeds tangled high on the bank, far above the current water level. I marked it by a flood so long ago that no one but her can recall it. She makes a low, rumbling sound in her throat, the sound of rising water, and sweeps her hand in a gesture of violent arousal. Oak frowns. He sees a healthy river, a sky that is placid blue, and a clan that is strong. Her warnings, more frequent these days, are unsettling whispers against the song of their prosperity. He looks at the high water mark and sees only old reeds. He sees the past. She sees the future. Her fragmented memories are a language he cannot understand. A story from a time before humans, or at least, before any of them had learned the valley's deceptive kindness. The terror in her eyes is real, a ghost from an ancient catastrophe. But the threat is not. He pats her shoulder, a gesture of comfort and dismissal, and turns back to the tangible world of the hunt. The matriarch is left alone with her ghosts, watching the slow, inexorable change in the paleo environment that only she recognizes as the prelude to annihilation. The daily foraging parties return with full hands, their laughter echoing in the valley, a sound that to her feels like a final, fleeting breath. The change comes not as a torrent, but as a slow, malignant swelling. The river no longer sings, it groans. The water, once clear enough to show the smooth stones of its bed, turns the color of clay, its surface boiling with unseen currents. The giant buffalo, creatures of placid routine, grow agitated, their lowing calls filled with a new, sharp note of anxiety before they begin moving away from the water, heading for the low hills in a great, dust-minus churning wave. The smaller animals have already vanished. A profound, unnatural silence descends upon the valley, broken only by the river's deepening hum. This is a moment of profound shift in their prehistory, a turning point where instinct clashes with a new kind of knowledge. Long-minus memory is no longer a passive observer. She moves through the settlement with a fire in her ancient eyes, grabbing skins, scattering hearth-minus stones, and shoving bundles of dried meat and precious flint into the arms of the bewildered clan members. Her story, once a fragmented whisper, is now a desperate, enacted drama. She mimics the ground shaking, the water rising not just to her waist but over her head, the screams of the lost. Her performance is terrifying, a transmission of trauma across a gulf of decades. For these early humans, whose lives are governed by the tangible, her terror is an alien force. Oak stands as the voice of reason against this tide of panic. He points to their shelters, to the meat miners drying racks, to the familiar groves that promise fruit. Here is life, his gestures say. He points to the high cliffs. There is stone, and wind, and death.
At last,
his logic is sound, built on a lifetime of experience. The highlands are the domain of cave lions and lean, hungry wolves. There is no water, no shelter, no food. To abandon the valley is suicide. The clan is torn. They look at the menacing river, then at the barren heights. Fear of the known versus fear of the unknown. This is the crucible of a decision that will shape their lineage. A pivotal chapter in hominid history. The stalemate is broken by the cry of a child. A young mother, clutching her infant, watches as a small whirlpool, a vortex of greasy brown water, tugs at the bank just feet from where her child was playing. The water is not just rising, it is becoming hungry. In that moment, the matriarch's story ceases to be a memory of the past and becomes a prophecy of her child's future. She looks into long minus memory's eyes and sees not madness, but a terrible certainty. This is the power of kin selection, an instinct more profound than logic. She pulls her child close, secures a skin filled with water, and walks to the old woman's side. Her silent act of faith is a stone dropped into a still pond. Another family follows, then another. The exodus is a grim, chaotic procession. They are not explorers, they are refugees. The precious products of their lithic technology, the carefully knapped hand minus axes and spear points that define their ability to control this world, feel pitifully inadequate against this new threat. Every upward step on the sharp scree is a betrayal of their ancestors, of the very ground that holds their bones. They glance back, watching the brown water lick at the edges of their abandoned shelters. Oak is one of the last to leave, his face the mask of conflict, his trust in the tangible world shattered by his trust in his kin. The climb is agonizing, a desperate stride from a home that is actively unmaking itself. The story has saved them from the water, but it has led them into a new, unforgiving wilderness. The cost of survival is the abandonment of everything they have ever known. From their perch on the high ledge, the world they knew is erased. The dawn reveals not a valley, but a vast, churning inland sea. The roar is constant, a physical pressure on the ears, the sound of a world being unmade. Entire groves of ancient trees, the landmarks of their lives, are torn from the earth and swallowed by the brown torrent, their roots clawing at the air for a final, futile moment. The clan huddles together, a small knot of shivering life against the immense, indifferent power of the water. The hunters, men who could face down a cave bear with nothing but fire and sharpened stone, are rendered as helpless as newborns. Their survival skills are for a world that no longer exists. Oak stares down at the devastation, his face numb with shock. He finds long minus memory's eyes across the small, cold camp. There is no triumph in her gaze, only a deep, shared sorrow. He walks to her, lowers his head, and touches his forehead to her shoulder, a gesture of submission, of gratitude, of profound, world minus altering respect. The story was true. His senses had lied. The river's placid face had lied. Only her memory, a fragile echo from a time million years ago, had told the truth. In that single moment of deference, the clan's social structure is Raymond's skull. The strongest arm is no longer the highest authority, the longest memory is. Days pass. The water recedes, leaving behind a liquid desert of grey, stinking mud that has swallowed everything. The familiar topography is gone. Their shelters, their tools, the very bones of their ancestors have been scoured from the earth. A loss that future archaeology will never be able to fully measure. They are alive, but they are unminus home, adrift in a hostile, alien landscape. Hunger gnaws at them. The children are weak. Despair begins to settle like a cold fog. That night, huddled around a pitiful fire made from damp scrub, the new ritual begins. Long minus memory gathers the children. Her voice, once strained with desperate warning, is now common measured. She tells the story again. But it is different now. She does not just mimic the flood, she explains its precursors. She points to the moon and describes its phase when the waters first began to smell wrong. She scratches a line in a piece of bark to show the level of the reeds that first troubled her. She makes the sound of the frantic fish. This is no longer just a memory, it is data. It is a lesson. It is the beginning of an oral tradition. A technology more valuable than any piece of flint. The other adults listen, correcting a gesture, adding a sound they remember. The story becomes a collective property, a shared shield against the future. This is the spark of the cognitive revolution. The moment abstract thought becomes the clan's primary survival tool. For these Homo sapiens, the ability to transmit complex, life-saving information across generations through narrative is an evolutionary leap as significant as walking upright. They have lost their world, but in the ashes, they have forged a new one, built not on earth and stone, but on the power of a story. They are no longer just a family of human ancestors, they are a culture. We pull back from this small fire, from this one clan huddled on a cold cliff in the heart of Africa. Their story, born of trauma and trust, is a single spark in the immense darkness of prehistory. But it is a spark that will ignite a species. This act of one generation passing a complex, life-saving narrative to the next is the fundamental algorithm of human progress. It is the invisible architecture that allows for the creation of laws, of myths, of science. Every complex society, every technological marvel, every shared belief that binds billions of people together today is a direct descendant of that first, desperate story told around a fire. They didn't just learn how to survive a flood, they learned how to bind time, to make the wisdom of the dead a living tool for the unborn. Their struggle reveals the core of human evolution. We are not the strongest, nor the fastest. We are the species that tells stories. And in the telling, we become more than the sum of our parts. And so we must ask, in a world saturated with information, can we still hear the vital stories over the noise? The past is not a foreign country. It is the bedrock beneath our feet, and it remembers everything. And soon we will chronicle the journey of those who turned their faces to the endless ice.